Hey everybody, it's Maggie from Personal Euphoria with today's plank story. So this plank story is like an epic tale. It's more than 90 seconds. It's gonna hit, I'm guessing, like 10 minutes. So, you might not want to do plank for all of it. You probably don't. And maybe you don't want to do plank for any of it. So in which case, just to keep moving, 10 minutes of movement, you're gonna do a side toe tap. And you can make it a little bouncy if you want, so you can get like a little almost rhythm to it. Get that heart rate up, a little springy. If it feels okay in your joints, you can jump side to side. You don't have to do that the whole time. You can come back to here, then go back to jumping. You can play with it, explore what feels good, and as always, do nothing that hurts. But here we go. So if you've been following my plank stories, you know that in COVID, Matt and I bought a used RV because he needed to get to all these places for work, and I was teaching virtually, so it worked out. And on the one hand, the RV has been a grand adventure that gives you all this freedom, and there's been so many fun stories. But on the other hand, every time we drive the RV, something goes wrong, and it is endlessly frustrating. And there are many plank stories from those experiences as well. So Matt and I have a place in New Hampshire. We've been keeping the RV up there to stay up there, but we've now built a small barn up there that we can go up and stay in. So we don't need the RV. And we've been debating, should we sell it? Can it serve a purpose? Will we take it out again? And we're just not going to. Now that we can fly and leave the US, we're gonna do that on vacation a lot. And it's hard to get geared up to take the RV out when you know, even with this adventure, there's always gonna be a disaster that kind of gets in the way of vacation. So we were up in New Hampshire this weekend hiking, gorgeous weekend, wonderful weekend. And we talked a lot about what to do, and we decided we were definitely bringing it back and selling it. And so we left Monday. Matt was driving the RV. I'm driving my car. We leave at 2:30, so we should get home by 6 p.m. And I have these plans. I'm gonna come home, take a walk, do laundry, get ready for the week, have this sort of relaxed night after this fabulous weekend. I don't know if you know an expression about life and plans, but it didn't quite work out that way because we had the RV. So now you also might remember a plank story. The last time Matt drove the RV home and I had the car, I mistakenly drove to Canada and had to drive home from Canada. But this time, I'm driving home and I see an RV on the side of the road getting towed, which is a rare sight and impressive. It's like a tractor trailer truck getting towed. This is not something you see on the regular. And I was like, oh, thank God Matt's behind me. And then when I'm nearly home, I'm in Springfield, so I'm 30 minutes from home, Matt's calling. And I say, hey, oh, you're about to pass an RV getting towed. Glad it's not you. And he says, well, it might be me. And I say, oh no, what's going on? And he said, I don't know. I heard a pop and now the RV won't exceed 30 miles an hour. And I'm like, oh God, what do you want me to do? Want me to come back? He's like, no. I'm gonna try to get off the highway and take back roads. If I could limp it home, I wanna get it home. And then he's like, oh, nope, there's fire spraying out the exhaust. I'm getting it off the highway and you're gonna have to come get me. So I turn around and I drive back and he's like on the border of Vermont and Massachusetts. So I go to meet him and I'm frustrated on my drive. I'm like, I can't believe this. This is the sign. We should totally sell it if we can still sell it. Like, it's just proving that we're making a good life decision. This is always a disaster. And I'm just so annoyed. And I say to myself, Maggie, like, there's nothing you can do. You got to talk yourself out of this mood. By the time you get to Matt, you don't want to be in this funky mood. Like, you're going to have to deal with it. This is life. Things happen. You guys are going to figure it out. And when I get to him, he has called a diesel mechanic. Now, this is one thing I like about RVing. Like, you can, of course, bring your RV into the shop, but if something like this happens, mechanics come to you. And I don't know, I love that. It makes me happy. So he's gotten in touch with this diesel mechanic who can be there in 90 minutes. And so we're in this little town on the border of Massachusetts and Vermont, and it's like this bizarrely magical town. It's small, like 3 blocks, historic. The houses are cute and kind of quirky. And the people, I don't know them, but based on the decor, seem cute and quirky and in the best of ways. So for example, one guy has clearly refurbished beautifully this antique car, and he has it in the center of his front yard, and he's built an open but covered gazebo over it with a sitting area around it, as if he and his family just sit and stare at this gorgeous car on display. And then a number of people obviously had trees in their front yard that they'd had cut down, but instead of cutting it at the stump, it was 8 feet tall, and they decorated it in all unique and quirky ways. And then the final tree we see is this very elaborate, beautifully carved, like gnome and owl. And I'm honestly impressed. I'm like, I'm kind of glad we wound up wherever this is. Like, this place is fascinating. And I had just watched Schmigadoon, which is a story about a couple who gets stuck inside a town that's a Broadway musical, and they can't get out of it. And I said, I feel like this place is going to become that. Like, gnomes are going to pop out of places, and all these people are going to start singing at us all of a sudden. But I'm happy in this moment that could have been very frustrating. We get back to the RV, and the diesel mechanic shows up. And now, clearly, this 11-year-old RV, no one has ever looked at the engine. We don't know how, but the guy does. And he's like, your engine is under your bed. We have to disassemble the bed. So we all get screwdrivers, and we start unscrewing these screws for the first time in a decade. And we're moving the parts of the bed. And now the RV, the slides aren't open. It's all closed up. So we're moving the parts of the bed into the RV. So we're mostly like stuck in the bedroom. If you want to get out, you have to like jungle gym, climb your way, hold the mattress overhead, and get out the front of the RV. And the guy needs a flashlight, and he says, can you go to the front of my truck? You won't miss it. There's a statue of Jesus, and the flashlight's right beside Jesus. Sure. So I jungle gym my way out of the RV, and I get to his truck, and I can't find Jesus. And so I come back to the front of the RV, and Matt's at the front of the RV, and I say to Matt, now Matt had not heard him ask me for this. And I say to Matt, can you tell him I can't find Jesus? And Matt's like, what are you talking about? Are you having an existential crisis? What's going on here? Like, what does Jesus have to do with any of this? And the guy hears me, and he says, Jesus is in my other truck. You won't be able to find him. So he jungle gyms his way out, gets the flashlight, looks at the engine, and says, this is an easy fix, not a problem. Basically, a hose blew off your turbo, and I need a clamp to reattach it, but I've got to get to my shop to see if I have a clamp. Basically, I need to go back for parts, and as long as I have them, easy fix. You'll be fine. So it's like 9 o'clock at night at this point, and Matt says to him, that's fine. Do you know if there's a place around here where we can grab food because we haven't eaten? And he says, I've been working 24 hours. I haven't eaten either. Get in the cab. We're going for dinner. We go out to dinner with this diesel mechanic, which is, again, one of the things I love about RVing, that the messiness winds up like this. So we get in the cab, he takes us to a Chinese restaurant, he clearly knows some people, we're chatting, we're talking, he's happy-go-lucky. The whole time we've been working in the RV, he wants music, I play the Beatles, he's singing along, he's saying, sometimes things happen and you just have to make the best of it, you gotta find the story. I say, my clients are getting this story tomorrow, you have no idea, you don't even know me, this is what I do. I tell plank stories about all the chaos that happens in life. So we have dinner, and I say to him, you've been working 24 hours. Like, what made you pick up the phone? What made you say yes? You could have said, like, I do diesel trucks. I don't do RVs, even though he clearly does. And he said, you know what? I like helping people, and I thought I could help. And so we drive to his house, which is where he has multiple trucks and a shop, and he's looking for the clamp he needs, and he keeps bringing bags over to the headlights of the truck to see. And he had music on, and I don't know what it was. It was like some commercial, but the commercial starts playing like a line from the Goonies. Now, I am a massive Goonies fan. And on the radio, what's the Goonies line? It's like it says, Goonies never say die. And he lifts up the clamps at that moment into the headlights. He's found the part. And he comes back back into the truck and we go back and he fixes it. And then he basically says, you know, you're good, but I'm not leaving, so you drive away. And Matt can't suddenly find the RV key. So we're all looking for it with flashlights. Did we drop it into the engine? Where is it? The mechanic finds it. We get in the car. I get in the car, he gets in the RV. It's working. We get home around 1:30. And now, this is the hard part, is like, this is the piece I will miss of the RV. How the disaster, you find great people and they make life interesting and you wind up on this silly, ridiculous adventure in this weird town you never would have otherwise. And I am not someone who believes like things are meant to be. I don't believe in angels, but I feel like this guy felt so special. He felt a little magical. He felt like exactly the person I needed, not to convince me to keep the RV, because it is for sale if you're interested, if I'm selling RVing, by the way. But to just kind of end our story with the RV on a great adventure, reminding you that there's good people out there in the chaos and that, you know, life has a bit of magic in it. And so with that very extended plank, I'll leave you with that thought, right? Even in the frustrating moments, we can choose to change our thinking pattern. We can meet good people and turn a tough moment into a good one. So anyway, I hope you have a wonderful night. I hope you keep moving. And although if you've been hopping back and forth, you can stop now. All right. Thanks for listening.